Meow everyone, Cantonese Cat here. Monthly chart of Palantir. Let's look at the trend, see how it goes. Looking at Bollinger Band, the trend looks very nice. 20-month moving average very nicely pointing up and it's accelerating. The price is riding on the upper Bollinger Band on its way up. And it looks like it wants to expand the Bollinger Band very nicely, both from the top part and the bottom part. Kind of like a crocodile opening its mouth. So far the trend is very nice. There's a potential this bull trend can last for quite some time, and price can go up over the years, and it can go up maybe further than what you would potentially expect. The other thing to look at is, when you want to look at the trend, is you can also find some information on Ichimoku Cloud analysis. As I pointed out, there was a Tenkan Kijun bullish cross that happened a couple months ago. The Tenkan has flipped from resistance here and has served as support here for quite some time. And as price go up, it's most likely, especially after this cross right here, it's most likely both the Tenkan and the Kijun would continue to serve as support on the way up as necessary. And because of this cross, it can precipitate a pretty powerful move over months and months ahead. Overall, the monthly trend is very bullish. Now, what we're looking at here in terms of the next levels and resistance, and why is it that the price over here stalled? The price over here so far looks very similar to what we did here. I'll show you what I meant by that. These are volume shelves. The volume shelves tells you where the price has significant volume traded hands, and where the price has significant volume traded hands, usually these serve as pretty significant resistance and support levels. Down here, it was right when the price went from here going up to the next volume shelf right up here. And down here, this candle right here is basically the price trying to work itself out of this volume shelf right here. Eventually, price is able to push up above, found some resistance on a volume shelf right up here, and it ranged here for about half a year before finally breaking out with this big giant candle from one volume shelf to another. Currently, we're hitting this smaller volume shelf up here. As you can see, the price over the last month, over the month of March, which really only has about 6 trading days so far, has been ranging kind of from top here to the bottom of this volume shelf right up here. There's a potential that it can continue to range here for the next, how many trading days do we have? I want to say next 15 trading days. There's a potential it continues to range around here for the next 15 trading days. With the next candle, potentially would be the one that kind of propel us up to maybe perhaps around 29 or 30. And once we get up there, there's a potential for it to keep ranging around here before bouncing up further. But once you get above 30, the volume shelf and the price history really start to become very thin. Once you get about 30, there's a potential that this trend really starts to become quite parabolic. Again, all of this stuff is speculation, right? There's no way for me to tell for sure this is going to happen. I don't predict the future, I just look at trend. What I do see is the price want to ride on the upper Bollinger Band and wants to keep going up, but it's waiting for the Bollinger Band to expand to allow a price to be pushed up further about these volume shelves. Until then, these volume shelves are going to continue to serve as resistance. But trend is your friend. It looks like it is happening. Now, in addition to looking at the volume shelf, you can also look at the daily or the time volume. March so far only has about 6 trading days. The month of March has about 15 more trading days. So 6 out of 15, you're talking about we might have gone through maybe about 40%. About 30% of the whole month here. The volume candle is already about 30% of what this big giant volume candle right here is. And this is the biggest volume candle that we've ever had on a monthly for Palantir. There's a potential that this candle can rival that, kind of like what it did over here. there could be a lot of stock here being traded hands this month, like we did back in June, before the push up to about 29 to 30. I think it's very possible to get up to 29 to 30 within a month or two, maybe April or May. And there might be some corrections, but eventually after it gets about 30 or 29 to 30, once it gets above that, I think things really start to get pretty bullish after that, because the volume is there. And we already had a lot of volume being worked up here. The selling volume has really been exhausted, allowing the price to really just push up higher. And I think there's a potential chance that it'll just keep going much higher within the next few months in the year of 2024. Weekly, when we're looking at weekly, the Ichimoku cloud is not going to be that helpful. All it tells you is, yeah, it broke above the clouds, becoming bullish. There's really not much here that can really tell you or give you any additional information. You can tell that the volume this week has also been quite strong in this push up. And another thing to look at is the bull market support band. And if you look at the bull market support band, you can see that it's pointing up. So if anything, if it ends up having gone through any unfortunate event, having a correction, God forbid, you would have this very positive pointing bull market support band as support, kind of like how it did over here. This positivity can potentially just continue to push the price up, even though everybody was kind of scared that it could be a head and shoulder pattern here or a double top pattern here. It didn't matter because the bull market support band keeps on pushing the price up, and the selling volume was decreasing. Now you have big giant buying volume here, and then a big volume here to close the week, and the bull market support band continues to point up. So I think very likely it might spend maybe a month or two trying to work about to 30, maybe even wait for the bull market support band to kind of catch up a little bit and push the price up even higher. That's kind of what I suspect would happen. No guarantees, of course. The other thing is to look at trend. And while we have the weekly, I like to look at the 20, 50, and 100. They're all stacked the right way. 20 above 50, 50 above 100. You already had all these bullish crosses that happen over the past year or so. And currently all three averages are pointing up. This is a very, very powerful weekly bull trend that can last for quite some time. And it could push price a lot higher potentially. How much higher? That's a very good question. I'm going to go back to the monthly here. I'm going to take off this band, and I'm going to do a Fibonacci extension level. And I've done this before for PLTR actually, like over a year and a half ago. I've done this before, and I'm showing some pretty crazy target where prices are down here, and everybody was kind of not really paying attention to me because nobody was listening to me at that point. I don't know why people are listening to me right now, actually, but top of the bull market over here is about 25. I'm not going to do an exact job here. Bottom right here is about 6. Right now, at this volume shelf, you're talking about is trying to battle the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement level. If things get really bullish, I'm not surprised, really over the next 3 to 5 years, I'm not surprised if it hits the 1.618, which is going to be about 70. And it could also hit about, the 2.618 level, which is around 109, 110, the level right up here. I'm not surprised that price gets up here over the next 3 to 5 years. This is kind of what I'm looking at. That's why I'm not really selling a single share. No matter how bullish the price action may look over here and how scared you might be and how bad recession narratives are coming, with rate potentially dropping, things like that. I'm looking longer term here. You just have a lot of really bullish things that's happening here, including the 20-month moving average just pointing up. Eventually it's going to get exhausted. Eventually it might start roll over and have some correction. But this is a very, very bullish trend. The other thing that, again, I just showed you earlier, the other thing that just happened was the bullish taking kitchen cross. That just happened 2 months ago. I could potentially push higher for the next 12, 18, 24 months, potentially. So I these are the kind of targets I'm kind of looking at. I mean, none of these are exact. For example, I want to draw this a little bit closer to what the actual top is. It's about 45 and 6, and if you do it that way, the level is still 69 and 108. Those are kind of what I'm targeting in about 3 to 5 years, which is a pretty significant gain. But that's what I'm thinking. Could it get there faster? Sure. Could it not get there at all? Sure. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. And the thesis goes along with one really kind of crappy stock that I don't respect called Lululemon. Back in the great financial crisis, it just IPO right before that. It's one of those unfortunate stocks just IPO'd and then you drop all the way down from like, $30 and then you lose all this money. It dropped down to like $2 and eventually gain all of it back within just a period of like 3 years and went up higher, right? From here down to the bottom, and for it to get up to the all-time high took about 2 years. For it to get up to the 1.618 level took another extra year, and it kept on going up to the 2.618 level before it finds some very serious resistance. Eventually, it was able to kind of work through that. It took years because of this pre-parabolic move, right? Eventually, it broke up and it just kept on going higher. So I see the potential of Palantir potentially doing something similar, even though people might think that it's unrealistic. But I mean, like this right here, I don't know why apparel store should. Maybe they change the world. They probably do. I don't want to be a negativity cat here, but if Lululemon can do it, I think Palantir can do it. I want to address another stock, kind of do like a two-parter here. I want to address the other stock here that people often loop together with Palantir, which I don't think is really a good comparison because they're a little bit kind of like apples and oranges. But when I look at Snowflake, ticker symbol Snow, there's something that's a little bit concerning here because you do have this huge selling candle here, followed by another huge selling candle here. Now it might not look like it, but the month only has 6 days, and you have 15 trading days to finish up the month. So far, it looks like a pretty bad looking candle here. Initially, I was looking at this. This is a pretty bullish formation. It looks like an ascending triangle. I really thought that it was going to work out once it breaks above. I thought it was just going to be a backtest here and keep going higher, but obviously, fundamental didn't really support that, and this stock is not ready to run, so it went back down. The thing about this is that it's been making kind of like these higher lows and then made a higher high. And even if this thing stops here, it could very well stop here because it's at a volume shelf level right here as support. It could very well stop here with the bleeding. Or even if it goes all the way down to here at the bottom of this ascending triangle, it's still going to be a higher low before it goes up higher. And this could just be a deviation, false breakout kind of thing. But it could still see plenty of support underneath. Like this is a pretty strong support area. This is a pretty bad looking, selling volume candles, but I still think that Snowflake overall, once is able to find support, and again, right now, if you look at the weekly, right now is kind of a falling knife. Somebody dropped a knife up here and just going down, right? Where is it going to end? Nobody knows. Is there any sign so far this week is going to be the end of it? Nobody knows. Because this week, candle basically starts at the top and stops at the end here. This is a pretty bearish candle where there's not much wick. You have a very similar candle over here where there's not much wick going up. There's a name for that I forgot right off my head, but if basically the entire candle kind of paints just like that, if there was no wick above below, usually you're going to end up getting a pretty bad trend continuation, unfortunately. And the selling volume so far has been pretty strong on the weekly, so it could go down to the bottom of the wedge and then bounce up. I personally wouldn't buy this because I just like Palantir more, and I'm in it more. I like the technicals and fundamentals more. But with Snowflake, like if you want to average down here and catch the falling knife, I'm not against it as long as you know what the risk levels are. Can it go even further down beneath the wedge? Just because I draw a line here doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to find support, right? Could it potentially go down a little bit further? to these, like 140, 143 levels to find support before bouncing up? Sure. Nobody knows the answer to that. But the thing is, you're going to continue to get support. And one thing that makes me a little bit skeptical in terms of if you're looking at this and you're like, thinking to yourself, oh, it's going to go down further, I might sell here and buy back later. There's no guarantee. None of this has any guarantee. This is a pretty bearish candle. It technically favors continuation. But on the other hand, it's actually had a pretty decent bull trend, like 20 is over 50 on a weekly, and 50 is over 100 on a weekly. You have all these bullish crosses that happened over the course of last year. It's a pretty full bull trend, and right now price fell to find support to close at the 100, and these moving averages starting to curl down a little bit. But still, you still have a relatively nice bull trend here. If it goes down, I'm not sure if it would necessarily stay down because of the bull trend. Could this damage right here change the bull trend to a bear trend? Possible, but it's going to take weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks for it to do. I'm just not so sure, although the volume right here is a little bit worrisome. There's still a chance for it to hit. Most likely, the most likely chance, most likely probability is that it could continue to go down and hit the bottom of this wedge right here and then bounce. That's the most likely scenario that I'm seeing, but nobody really knows. It's still a falling knife, and it's still got pretty good support. So because I don't know which way it's going to go, and because I like Palantir more, I'm going to stay away from Snow, even though I'm still pretty bullish on Snow in the long run. And in the long run, Snow does have a little bit of a flattening right here with its 20-month moving average. So it's not as bullish as it was before this month, right? But overall, it still looked like it's trying to make a trend change. So maybe this is just kind of a little bit headwind. It might take another few months for it to figure things out before going up higher. But I'm still relatively bullish on Snow. I'm not bullish enough for me to want to put money in it. But another thing is, I do think that right now the 10 can fail to serve as support, and now it's kind of a little bit of resistance. I think that it might spend the next few months trying to work things out, while the Kijun can cross down and the Ken could potentially just continue sideways, and they would cross, and eventually going to develop a pretty powerful bull trend. But it can take a few months. If you're a holder of Snow, I don't know what to say. I don't know whether or not to hold, sell, buy more. I don't know. All I'm just saying is that, it's a little bit ambiguous right now. Overall trend, I can see it. It might take a few months for it to kind of get back into a pretty decent bull trend. But so far, it's still a falling knife on the weekly, and I don't know how far it's going to go down. On the weekly, too, is very interesting because it's starting to fall into the cloud. But the thing is, the cloud is so thin that I'm not sure whether it's going to necessarily serve as good support. There's a very good chance it could also fall underneath the cloud. I don't know, guys. I'm just gonna leave these lines right here, see what happens. Most likely is probably gonna keep going down because of this big giant volume here. Although it's starting to have some support on 100 moving average, is a bull trend based on moving averages, is hitting the top of this weekly Ichimoku cloud. It might find support before that, I don't know, but based on the volume, most likely down before up. It can take a few months for it to happen because of how much resistance is here based on the volume shelf. But so far, this bullish pattern is still valid. This might just be a false breakout. We'll see what happens. Anyway, spent a long time talking about Palantir Snow. Thank you for listening. Have a good weekend. Bye.